Good question, Sean.
All right. Another great question that you had, Sean. You want to talk about the
The reason we're here.
Celtics media game. I guess I'll set the table and then I'll cede the floor to Sean to tee us up with another great question. So apparently there was supposed to be a game at the Celtics media. They were to play at the practice facility, I assume. They got there. Joe Mazzulla said that actually they were going to be playing a group of Celtics coaches, many of them former, D1 players, and the game went predictably. 57-4, I believe, was the final score, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have very strong feelings on it. All right, Sean, what do you want to talk about
Well,
regarding
I want
this?
to I want to start by saying I do not have very strong feelings about it, but I am pretty surprised how it's grown legs to the extent that it has. I mean, it's like an actual talking point in Boston sports radio and just the conversation. Like it's a legit storyline at this point. And a lot of that is because you have all these, beat reporters writing their own stories about, about the experience and all that stuff. So that feeds into it. But you also have the Celtics and Missoula, I think, more or less kind of trying to backtrack on what happened and like paint a narrative that it wasn't it was about like a competitive environment and all that stuff. And my initial take when I saw it is I was like, all right, Mizzoulo's a hardo, but I that was it. Like that was we know that. I didn't care. I thought it was funny. I like saw some of the highlights. I'm like, that's kind of a funny thing. They're, you know, full court pressing and trapping, Celtics beat reporters who haven't played basketball in 10 years at this point. And I saw it, I laughed, thought Missoula was a hardo, but didn't think much about it. And then just that would have been the end of it, in my opinion. And I think a lot of what's kind of transpired since then is like it seems a little disingenuous. Like to me, I think the Missoula didn't want the tape to get out. And I think once like the tape got out, it was like, oh crap, now you have people in I was reading the story on The
Wait, you
Athletic
think he
last night.
did or did not want the tape to get out?
He did not want the tape to get out, I don't think. I don't think so. I don't think the Celtics wanted the tape to get out. And I think when it
What do they
did,
think?
I
It's
don't
a
know.
bunch of media people in a social
I
media world.
I maybe the Celtics in the Celtics, I don't think Missoula wanted the tape to get out. I don't think the Celtics expected the coach to act the way I don't think the Celtics expected it to transpire the way it did. Is maybe the better way to put it. Um, but I was reading the story on the Athletic last night, and it was just like people, like you said, have strong opinions about, Missoula is such an a-hole and it's bullying and like all these sorts of things. And I didn't, again, I don't have that strong of a take. Mine is just that the the backtracking, Missoula didn't like sit at like his normal podium yesterday when he during his pregame availability, and he said that was because like essentially everyone's
We're
guard
on the
was
same
down the
level
day
now,
before,
yeah.
so now we're on the same level. And I'm like that seems like such a stretch. And again, painting it as like this, we want to be we want to let our guard down in a competitive environment, and I learned so much about you guys and all this sort of stuff. Like I think that's disingenuous. I had no problem with how it went down because I thought it was funny and it could have just been left there. But the way that it's been talked about since then has just brought more eyes to it. And I think a lot of it is like kind of now trying to play damage control.
I think it's interesting to your point, I guess. I don't know if I agree with any of what you just said, but um it, when was the last time a professional sports team tweeted out a snippet of a coach's press conference of him talking about a media game? Like the
Yeah.
Celtics themselves were like they
Yeah.
tweeted out the Missoula clip being like coach talks about whatever. And I was like that's a just an interesting, like you don't see that very often. And obviously like most media games aren't that. So it is a little bit different, but I do think that would help support your theory. One that I don't know if I totally agree with. Ben, I'll defer to you first, Ben, because you feel like you're pretty fired up about this too.
I So I guess I have two. My first take, which I think is my predominant take because I've had it for a while, is I think media games are weird. Like I think it's just weird to be like,
They're
So
hey,
weirder now.
media on media is weird too.
So
so sorry. So like more that like when the team is like we're gonna invite the members of the media to come play on our court. Like I think it's like as someone who's like why would I care about that as someone who covers the team? Like I just think it's very kind of like amateurish to be like I get to play on the same court as the Celtics. It's like okay,
especially
like,
at it was Auerbach, it's not the Garden.
right, yeah, that's another thing. So it's like I think it's and it's not that like I've never played like a pickup basketball game with other media members, but it was but generally like the team sponsored ones I've always declined because I do think it is weird to do that. But I have played with someone's like, hey, like we like so and so works at Harvard University and they have the court on Sunday morning. Like, do you want to come? Like, I've done that. But the team sponsored ones seem, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. Like it seems like those those things that they have in like spring training where you can like pay a bunch of money to go down
Fantasy camp.
fantasy camp. Like it feels a little fantasy campy. Whereas I was like, no, I'm not a hedge fund trader in his 50s trying to like live out my dreams. Like I have a person who does my job. So that's my first opinion of it. It's not directly Celtics related. But I don't want before I go into the other one, Mike, did you have something else to kind of add on to that or
I don't totally. Like if the Red Sox one, like the Red Sox do a Red Sox Yankee Boston New York media game every year. I think they do one. I don't know if it alternates every year or if they do one in Boston and one in New York every year. That's one where I'm like, I wish I could play in that one because like I just think the venue's cool. Like I would like to pitch one inning on Fenway Park's mound, and like I don't care that I'm almost 40 years old and I'm supposed to be an adult and a professional. Like that would be cool. I would go pitch an inning at Yankee Stadium. I would hope that I wouldn't like make it my entire Twitter personality for like 3 straight days and be like, wow, that was or like, when when Garrett Crochet goes 7 strong and be like, yeah, I know exactly what that's like. Uh which is like probably more of a me thing, but that is where I do kind of get annoyed by this where it's like everybody gets main character syndrome all of a sudden. And it's just like, let me tell you about my day. It's like, how many, everybody on the beat wrote the same story. It's like, all right, cool. I would be pissed. I would be pissed off if I was a Celtics reporter, though, thinking that we're just going to, I'm going to be guarding Gary Washburn. And now all of a sudden I got to body up like Joe Mazzulla, who is a legit D1, player at West Virginia or wherever. Like,
They had like
leave us
5
alone, man.
legit D1 players.
Yeah,
like NBA
like that's my thing
players.
is like that's where the whole thing annoys me is like just like let us if we're gonna do this, just leave us alone and let us do this. Like we don't need to make it. So like I don't know if that was by that's where I get confused too. Is like I don't know what it just seemed. I don't know what was the point. Like were they trying to bully him? Were they trying to send a message? Like if the message is like, yo, you guys aren't good at basketball, it's like, yeah, man, we know. We're just trying to get a little run in here and say that, take a bunch of pictures and be on our way. Like if they're committed to playing the game, they're just gonna play the game. Like that's what and I like I enjoyed part of Missoula's quote, like the idea of like like we beat your asses and like so now I have more respect for you and like I understand that you guys love basketball. I feel like that should be implied probably if you're covering it, but like he kind of got there eventually landed the plane, but like the whole thing the like the thing about like the dais or like the podium was the
Yeah.
most bizarre quote I've seen. The guy's just weird. So like that might just be the ultimate takeaway here is like Joe Mazzulla is weird. But if the whole point was like to send a message or teach a lesson to like a group of Celtics reporters, I don't think that's necessarily needed. Like I think they all get it. Like
Ben, to your, I don't think media games when it's media on media are weird. I think like so last summer, Keegan and I did
this whole
it.
thing
It
too.
was like
These
a
are
flag.
I'm
It was
on
a flag
Ben's side.
football game, but it was scheduled to be Patriots media against Eagles media, and it was after a joint practice, and so like I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do that, I would do that. And then the Eagles media either didn't have enough that traveled or whatever, something happened. So then that kind of fell apart, and then it just became Patriots on Patriots, which it was it was fine. It was a flag football game. It was literally just like a lunch break. I didn't think it was anything more than that or strange compared to that. So I didn't have a problem with that, or I don't have a problem with that. I just I think this is just different in the sense of how it played out. And I don't even know. I don't know what the point was. Like I don't know. I think it started as kind of a joke, and then it turned into like something where it's like Mazzulla is that competitive of a guy that he like took it a step too far. And then I think, and maybe not took it a step too far, but just it played out the way it did, and because of his competitiveness. And then it became something where it's like, okay, this is actually irritating people because some of the climate thinks it's bullying and other things like that.
Um,
I'm trying to pull up a few comments from the
Did people
Athletic
were
article.
people actually upset? I didn't.
Oh my God.
yeah. So I think it was. The more I observe, the more I observe Mazzulla, the more I just think he's kind of a sad figure. Like he's a sad
That's
person.
like yeah, like that was gonna be my point. Is like I'm not offended by it, but it's like if you need to beat us by 50, like all right, that says more about you than it does anything else. Like
I just think
you see this everywhere. It's not just him. You know what I mean? Like
that. So that's kind of where I was gonna take this. So I think it's sad on Joe Mazzulla's part. Because I know you guys said, well, what was the point? I am fairly confident in my opinion about what he was trying to do there, and for me, one of the biggest pieces of evidence of what he was trying to do was that why wasn't Scal playing for the media team? If anything, that would be the greatest endorsement of Scal's claim that like an ex-NBA player can kill anybody. Imagine if Scal could drag a bunch of media has-beens to a victory over a bunch of younger Division One coaches. So I think there's that, but I just think it's sad because this is what Mazzulla I think thinks either leadership or competitiveness is, and I don't know. He's just. It's only gonna get more pronounced because he, like most people in the basketball world now, I'm not just picking on hockey guys, Mike. Like there's just a lot more of that like background where they've kind of never had to be exposed to like regular people. He came up, he went to a prep school in Rhode Island, and then he was a Division I player, and then he went right into professional basketball. And somewhere along the line, maybe he like read a book about like leadership, or like, he got the sense that this is how, you dunk on literally and figuratively, like the media in order to, whether it's prove a point or like, show that you're the alpha wolf or whatever it might be. And unfortunately, for like there's more and more examples of that in our society that like this is how you do it. And I think it's been kind of good that there has been, maybe not like total people like getting up in arms, but there should be a little bit of backlash against this. It's like, no, man, like this isn't really how you do it. Like there is a way you could have done it. Like maybe you went in and you mixed up the teams. You know what I mean? Like then you can still like say like, oh, we got a sense of your competitiveness and all that sort of stuff, your love of basketball. But like this was pretty clearly like I want to step on your neck, so because I don't like the question you asked me like last December.
Or like ref and coach or something. You know what I mean? Like so I guess it's it without knowing the intent. Like that's the toughest thing. I think you're probably right. I think it's also possible he's just a super athletic or super competitive freak, and like if he was trying to send any sort of message at all, it's one of the saddest things I've ever seen a professional do, because it's just like we know, man,
because
like
what
are they gonna do?
It's also the fact that that it was the final score 57-3 because no one plays pickup basketball that way. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Like if it would be what you would really do is it would be 21-1 or something like that,
Yeah.
and then you'd say, you know what, we need to mix this
Yeah,
up. But no,
right.
like the fact that they just kept playing, that's another piece of evidence to me that like, no, this was about proving a point. This wasn't just like, oh, like we made the teams and it just happened to be like one sided. Like no, like you would have played to 15-0. You do that at the playground all the time. You know
and
what I
I
mean?
just
Like
can't get behind that point. Like, because I just think it's so unnecessary. Like and it's sad. What was I gonna say? I forget. It's just like I, I just don't. Oh, like if you're playing in that game too, like you can't get mad, right? Like you can't be like if you're forced to cover this team for the rest of the year, you can't
Well,
Yeah.
put
that's
your
the thing
finger
too.
in Joe Mazzulla's
Yeah.
chest after a play and be like, "What the hell, dude?" Or like, "This is cool." Like, yeah, you can't be like, I would be a prick about it. I'd be like, "Oh, this is a lot." That's why I'd be mad from the beginning. It's like, I just want to get a few shots up and like play with the people I work with every day, and we're turning this into something that it shouldn't be. And like when it gets to that point, I can't fight back either. It's just we're just wasting our time. It's just because you can't be like, you can't foul a guy hard. You can't,
Right.
like this is.
And you can't. I think that some of the stories that were written in terms of like, this was the best time of my life and like all that sort of stuff, like I think that is a step too far. But if that's how you feel, that's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with it. But what you can't do is you can't be like, I hate Joe Mazzulla for how he just treated me, because then you're working with the guy for the next 8 months.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very strange, and how like I would think I would have been, if you're like actually competitive, I think you're going to be annoyed and I think you're going to be pissed. And if you're getting, the ball stripped from you when you're trying to dribble up the court, and that's just happening constantly, like that's going to get annoying. I don't care if it's 12 minutes or if it's a 48-minute game, like it just is. But it's such a weird, you really can't take that out on anything because of the way, like, the situation.
I think it either Missoula knew what was going to happen and allowed it to happen, or did it intentionally. Either he knew that they were going to get killed and he proceeded, or the other possibility is he didn't realize, in which case I think that that's also kind of like a lack of awareness of the difference between a schmo and people who played Division I sports at a high level or a near professional level. And it's almost like a lack of respect for that difference, because like I would never in a million years go into a pickup game like expecting to be competitive against someone who was in their 30s and played that sport at a D1 level. Like if
Again, there were pros on this on that
if,
team too, on that staff.
if Joe Mazzulla is so much in a bubble that his defense is honestly that he did not know that they were going to kill him, I would be like, dude, do you realize like how much better professional and D1 players are than guys who rode the bench for their high school team?
Is it fair to have a media critique here and say like, if guys are saying like, this is the greatest thing I've ever done, like I do wonder if they're going to be able to be critical of the team in the long run? Is that overanalyzing it too? Not that it matters. It's not like state secrets. It's not the Pentagon, which has its own issues with media relations at the moment too. Like that's just another thing where I'm like, I don't know. I would have tried to. This is easy for me to say. I would have tried to write that story and be like, here's what I learned about the 7 people I cover the Celtics with on a daily basis, and not once mention the fact that you played like the coaches and got beat by 50 points. Like it's just because I think once you start blurring that line, I don't know. It's just the whole thing is just weird.
Yep. I mean, but
I didn't read much of it because I just think it's a little too gazy for me, where it's just like, all right, you played a basketball game. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like you played pickup basketball. All right, cool.
I will admit I probably consumed too much of the content that came out of it in terms of like the stories, but like Missoula was on another Zolak and Bertrand thing yesterday, and he said something about like we might do it again. Hopefully that tape won't get out there or something like that. And that kind of confirmed to me, like, I don't think he wanted this to be shown, and I don't know what he expected. Like again, it's you have all the media outlets from the city there, so it's going to get recorded. But it's like I don't think he wanted it out there.
If he thought that was the case, then he's even dumber than.
Yeah. But maybe
Yeah,
he just thought like this is a rah-rah moment for all of us. So like if we could just keep this in house, we're like, we're a real locker room if we can just keep this in house.
I guess. I do think I'm more interested. I've come a little bit around on your idea, Sean, that there was like damage control being done. I think that's an interesting
Yeah.
theory. I also don't, but like I also don't know if Joe Mazzulla cares. Like, so that's a yeah.
No, and that's why it started the way it did, and then maybe the control got to a point where it was like, Joe, like you gotta reel this back, or like you gotta speak on this because you're getting slandered. I mean, people are talking about mean-spirited and arrogant,
If that's the
and
case, then what an
like,
own goal. Like it's just a stupid media game.
yeah, some of the comments on that Athletic article were just, again, those are people that take it like much more serious than I did at face value, like certainly initially. So
Yeah, media games are weird. I don't know. They're not something I've taken
you guys,
part in. Also, like when like the team like gives you gifts, like that was all often a thing. Like at the end of the year, I just think that that's odd. I don't know. I just think it's strange. As a thank you for covering us, I was like, I don't
the
know.
newspaper man mentality right there, bud.
I don't know. It just seems strange. But it also like I don't know. Missoula is also strange. So it was it's a meeting of the strangeness. The what is it? The circles of strangeness. What's that thing called? You know where the circles?
Circles of trust,
No, where the circles overlap.
Venn diagram.
Venn
Venn
diagram?
diagram. There you go. Yeah. See, Missoula would have known that right away. I'm sure.
Well, I
Missoula-
thought you were talking about like there's a thing called circles of strangeness.
No, no.
I know what the actual
No, I'm saying
when
like the
circles are connected.
No,
I
I'm
get
saying
that
like
part.
it's the Venn diagram of weird. Like
I thought you were maybe talking about
met,
like the.
met in the middle and became the Celtics
yeah.
media game. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about something along the lines of perhaps the wheel of success and all the, getting the stakeholders involved.
Wait, so what were on the two sides of the Venn diagram?
The weirdness of media games and the weirdness of Joe Mazzulla, and they just came
Okay.
together to form the overlapping Venn diagram.
See, like
of
that would have been the
weirdness.
most effective piece of content if you just tweeted that out as like a Celtics beat reporter and be like, "This is what happened today." I'd be like, "Yeah, all right, that I understand that. That makes sense. Okay, I can go on with my day now."
the the overlapping segments of weird. Was that cynical enough for you, Sean? Did we go enough into the cynicism? Did you want us more?
Yeah.
Mad
No,
doggy?
I was just, I was curious. I feel like this is right up our alley in terms of a topic of this show.
It's fair.
So
Fair.
Yeah,
Kinda,
I
I kind of
also-
hate it, but fair.
I know we're going. Like people who take this stuff seriously freak me out. Like it's, like a company softball game at Fenway and you're threatening people or something like
Ooh.
that would be, like those
there
types
were
of.
there were some intense moments during the company softball game at Fenway
I know,
over
Sean,
last July.
I was trying to lightly allude to that, but
Yeah.
thank you for spelling it out.
Oh, yeah.
I just I'm almost jealous of those people though for having that level of compete at that age with that much having been done in life. Where I'm like, why don't we all just go play golf? Like, can we just go? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. We are trying to go, but I'm also at the point too, like where if someone is actually being competitive in an environment like that, I kind of be like, come on, man.
like that's what. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I did. And that's you only see this, or at least now at this point in my life, at like, I remember playing when Fenway hosted football one year. I went and played flag football at Fenway, and it was just a bunch of media people, and like I have completely changed my opinion of people, or have had my opinion molded of them by how they approach that game, and like I still have negative opinions of people who are like, "This is the Super Bowl," when it's like, no, we're just playing touch football at Fenway. This is cool. Like, we don't need to win. Like,
Yeah, don't dive. Don't do any of
Yeah.
that stuff. Like, just
Right.
please, like, understand why we're all here.
yeah,
Let's all protect our Achilles.
yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
All that matters is we don't get hurt. Like that's,
Imagine the damage control that would be had today if someone popped one of those things, and it was because Mazzulla dove at his legs.
Well, like, and that would be my thing. It's like if I was going for a layup and all of a sudden, an actually good athletic former player goes up like he's gonna reject me, I'm just holding on to the ball and I'm just coming down and I'm dropping the ball because it's like, no, I'm not gonna like try to go like initiate contact here. Like, no, this is not worth it for me.
That might be some of like the damage control, like seed planting going ahead for like the Celtics, where they're like, Joe, we could have hurt somebody yesterday,
Yeah.
like, and we would get sued. That we can't have, Zach Cox tearing his ACL because you tried to block his shot. Like, we could get sued. Like, you need to go out there and say that this was all part of a plan, and like, we're not doing this again moving forward because somebody could get seriously hurt.
Zach Cox, to no surprise, was far and away the best player in flag football at Gillette last year.
Well, so that would be my other thing. It's like, okay, Joe, like that's good. Now go play Zach in rugby. Like if you really want to see like the competitiveness and meet on an even field, go play someone else's. Yeah.
I saw someone comment on the Athletic article that said, Joe, why don't you write a story on Deadline?
Yeah, right.
Like, I misread one of the first quotes that I saw before I actually saw him say it, and I actually thought he was like, this actually annoyed me, where he was like, you guys got to see how competitive we are, and I thought he said, and we know you guys are competitive, but he said you're not competitive, and it's like, no, actually, like, media is competitive too. Like, there's, and yeah, that's a good point. It just manifests itself in different ways. Like, you know what I mean? That was one thing that kind of rubbed me. Yeah, so yeah, go write a story on Deadline.
All right, folks.
Ask a question.
We've had a nice lengthy talk. Believe it or not, it was not all committed to Joe Mazzulla in the Celtics media game. But Sean, thank you very much for taking ownership and forcing the talk. Mike, thanks for turning around and joining us on short notice.